Welcome back to another episode of Richard Makes Stuff, the channel where not knowing how to do something is no excuse for not having a crack. Today, I'm actually not going to make something. I'm probably going to build something, maybe? But what we have today is an unboxing video. My wife had seen how much work I'm doing in the garage and decided that for Father's Day, I would get a new table saw. Pretty thrilled at that. Now, this is only just the basic brand, it's the cheapy brand. In the US, I think you'd equate to the Harbor Freight one, but it does have all the things that I particularly want in one. So today, I'm going to open it. Like, it is still sealed. I have not even opened it yet. I've had it just over a week now. I thought I'll open it with you guys. We will build it, put it together. Now, one thing I will say, looking at the box, these are pretty flimsy legs, right? This is a cheap one, so those legs aren't going to be overly stable. What I'm probably going to do in a future build, in a few weeks' time, is I'm going to make a cabinet for it. One that lifts the base of the table up to basically the height of this, so I can use this to run onto. So, let me get the camera set up. Let's get inside this box and see what's in there. Alright, first up, let's get this box open. Alright, what am I seeing in the top? Set of instructions. All well and good, instructions are handy. Always a good item of last resort. Alright. I'm guessing these parts are part of the tabletop. What I quickly want to check, are they magnetic? Yes, they are. That is excellent. Right, so let's get these out. These are part of the tabletop. Put them off to the side. We have some foam inserts. Foam inserts, excellent, recycling. I can take them to a local tip and get rid of them for nothing. Alright, what else, what's in here? Alright, we have a bag that's not, plastic cover that's not overly clean. Alright, fortunately that also is recycling, so that's going into the recycling bin out the front. Go over there for now. Right, appears that we have a table saw. We'll move these over here and move that in because that's going to go there. Right, I'll just get everything out of the box and then we'll deal with what we've got. We have a set of saws, or saw blades I should say. What else we got in here? We have a whole bag of goodies we'll look into. And we have a box of what I think is going to be the stand. I think it's pretty flimsy all up because there's really there's not a huge amount of weight to that. With the weight of this, I reckon I'll get a lot of flex on these. Alright, all that's left in the bottom is another big piece of foam at the bottom, which can be thrown out as well. Let's get that out of the way. Let's have a look at what is in our toy box. That would be alright, that slots in there. Handle that will go on for raising and lowering the blade. Parts of the leg assembly, I'm guessing. Parts of the leg assembly. A push stick, find a way to my collection. I don't generally use push sticks. I generally use a push block. A push block like that allows me to put weight on top of the piece I'm cutting to keep it down. Alright, continue looking at this. Right, this is part of my fence that will go onto there. More for the legs. A whole lot of screws and nuts and bolts. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they look like they're for the legs as well. Blades to, blades. For changing the blades. Go with the blades. More the foot, another foot. Here we have the blade guard and the riving knife. Let me get these two things out, and that box is empty. A screw and a, looks like a lock nut type thing. That'll be for rotating something. Another piece of recycling. Alright, now just on this has, that's interesting, looks like there's a connector on top there. That'll come off, unscrew, and I almost can use that to put an attachment on. But I'm probably not going to really use the blade guard. I know you're supposed to, but for me, I just find them annoying. I can't see what I'm doing half the time. If I'm using a cross-cut sled, I've got to go and disconnect it. But I will keep the riving knife. What happens, and the reason you need to keep your riving knife, is that if I'm pushing across that way to cut, my blade is turning this way. Right? And when you're pushing things, it'll tend to want to curve outwards. And what will end up happening is that this part of the blade is lifting up here, and it'll want to catch and flick the piece up at you. The riving knife sitting there at the back of the blade will stop it from pushing into the blade. So it's a good protection. From what I've seen, most people that I've looked at a lot of things on YouTube, other people making stuff, every single one of them says, yeah, do what you want with the blade guard, but do not go without that. And a lot of them even made them for old saws they haven't got. Alright, some more bits here. What's this? Oh. That looks suspiciously like a fence. So that looks like it's going to be my fence. I've just got to work out how that's going to attach to everything. And that's my cable. Alright. As a fence, I'm just trying to look at how this is all going to go together. I don't see any connectors to connect into that, because as far as fences go, that is way too small. Clearly something's going to bolt into that. I wonder if it might actually be the piece in there. Let's open it up and have a look. It might be in there with legs, but this doesn't feel big enough to have anything more than just legs in it. No, they're just legs. Oh, what's that? Cross pieces for the frame. No, just the parts of the leg. Interesting. pieces weren't in the bag was just rolled up in there with them. You can just see the factory now. No, you gotta have a plastic bag in there with them to seal to separate them. Oh, okay. I'll just shove it in there, will I? Why not? All right. Interestingly, the groove in this. Can I fit there? No. So what have I got here? I have. I got 2 holes here for connecting. That's where that other piece will go through. That's going to sit on. That sits on there like that. All together nice. Actually, first I'm going to have a look inside here. Take this off. I was going to say that looks like that's actually broken there, but looking at the bits in the gap, I don't know if it is broken. I wonder if somebody returned this. That's why it was all open on the top. And if they've returned it, that's why the fence is missing. Not the way I wanted to start this build. All right, let's see what I've got here. All right, there is a blade in there at the moment, which is another ripping blade. That is interesting. All right. All right. This is the fence. And what I've worked out is that channel in there will fit that captive bolt through there. All right, and that will hold it in place. So that other one I found, that'll go in there, so there'll be some method of attaching that. So, without further ado, we have setup and preparation. This hasn't been used before because what I have inside here is more foam. All right. Okay, so let's now put these together according to the instructions. More recycling. We do love our recycling, don't we? All right, first step. Let's take this one off. This one appears to be the height adjuster for, so that will sit in there. Paying attention is a useful idea. So, now if I crank this, we should see blade coming up through the top. lock that in what might be straight position. What I will need to do before using this is I need to make sure that this is perfectly square, so it's perfectly vertical. And when I get to put the fence on, and which we'll do in a sec, I'm not going to do much more today than put the fence on, put the riving knife on, and put the basically that's basically it today, and put the side panels on. Because I've decided what I'm going to do. These legs are only, that's pretty short. What I want to do, and this will be a build in a couple of weeks' time, I think. I'm going to make a cabinet for it to sit on. One with that sturdier, one on casters that I can move I can lock in place. And I want this to roughly be the height of that. So I can use this as a run-off board if I'm doing particularly big pieces. So we're not going to put all of this together today. So right now, I think I'm going to change this blade because I don't like this blade. This blade is a pure ripping blade, and it is 24 tooth. I've got a better blade in there that's like 40 or 60, which will give me cleaner cuts. This is good if I'm chopping up big bits of lumber. Generally I don't do that. So I'm going to remove this blade, put the riving knife on, fix up the fence, and then we'll see if we can get them aligned. Magnets are useful. Now, one thing when retightening your blades, you don't need a huge amount of force to tighten on there. Just make sure it's nice and reasonably tight. The spinning action of the blade will act to tighten that up. So it's not going to spin off and fly off. So don't get too carried away and try and break everything. Just tighten it up enough. How much is enough? Well, I could probably give it a good yank and put more force on there, but that's just enough. So let's stick with that. It has started raining. Awesome. Anyway, that's in place. That's nicely in place. So that's going to protect any kickbacks. Let me turn this side on for you. Right, so that riving knife is going to protect any kickbacks. So for now, let's put this. What I will do at some point is make what's called a zero clearance blade, a zero clearance insert. What that is an insert that is absolutely no It's an insert that is exact, that has nothing in there. If I'm cutting thin strips of wood, they're not going to fall into there and jam the works up and end up breaking themselves. This thing won't break, but it can help burn it out. Let's get this fence sorted. So what have I got here? Put that to there. Right. So I can have two kinds of fences. I can have a fence. I can put the fence on that way. Right, the fence on that way, or I can put the fence on that way. And that's what I'm going to do there. Actually, Now put the fence on that way, and on the top there, I think you can get various attachments that'll fit in there to lock other things in place. Because what I want to do with this is put a bit of wood, have some wood to put on there. When I'm doing really fine cuts right up against there, what I don't want is the blade cutting off this. So there'll be a piece of wood on there which will be a sacrificial fence. But for now, let's get this fence put together, and then let's see how straight it all is. Alright, one tool every shop should have is have one thing you know is a perfect right angle. That's this one. Alright, I know that this one's perfect. I've tested it, I measured it. I don't know where I got it from, but I've had it for many years. If you can find one, that's fantastic. So I can use this to make sure that everything is properly at 90 degrees. My fence isn't perfectly at 90 degrees. It's slightly wider there than it is there. So I'm going to remove it from here. Now it looks like down there I've got a couple of screws I can undo. Right. This is probably going to take a while to do. So I'll come back and do this later, and we'll have another chat when I'm done. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this. There's two screws down in here, or two captive nuts in here. I'll undo them slightly, adjust this so I don't have that tiny bit of wiggle on there. There's a tiny bit here, quite a lot up here. So let's get that. I'll do that off camera, because I'm going to tell you now that is not exciting viewing. Then I'll get that on. So what I will do now is let's make sure that as a default that this thing sits at 0. Now something that I found which is really helpful is one of these little doohickeys. Right. That tells me the angle that whatever is on. So if I want to make sure that's 90 degrees, I'll put it on there. I set that to 0, so it'll 0 it. Then I'll put it on there, and we should have that says 89.75. Right, that is now hovering. It's alternating between 90 and then it quickly flicks back to 89.95, which means that that is now perfectly 90 degrees. Okay, we're about done for all I'm going to do today. You saw a lot of messing around there. It's really worth it if you're buying the less expensive tools. One of the reasons why they're less expensive because there's more tolerance in all the bits that go together. So it's worth spending that extra bit of time to make sure that these line up. So I've made sure that these joins are perfect and the height is the same on both sides. So it's not angled up, it's not angled down. So I've got a good flat surface. So now I have a good true surface to work on. That's really important, especially when you're dealing with cheaper tools. So that's all we're going to do today. I'm not going to put the legs on it. If I need it for now, I'll just use it on top of the table. It's not perfectly ideal, but it'll do. So one of the next projects I will undertake will be to build a base for this. I've seen lots of designs online, but one of the good things about putting a base for this, that gives me a little cabinet underneath where I can put the saw blades, I can put all my attachments for it. What I want to make is a good cross-cut sled, which is going to be a lot nicer than that, because what I want to make is one that's perfectly 90 degrees. That one now currently is, but it's kind of wonky. So what I'll make is a cross-cut sled for 9 degrees, and I'll make one for 45, because they're the two most common angles. Cutting it straight, cutting it 45 degrees. Probably still use that occasionally, but not the most useful thing. I'll show what I mean. If we put this lined up with the holes, the track ends right on there, which means if I've built a sled to come across, it's not going to make it to here. So I've got to have a bit of a think about what I'm going to do. That I might end up making something that's going to come across from there. I haven't decided yet. After all, it's only come out of the box today, so I like it. Is it a fantastic one? No. This isn't a solid cast iron top. This is a sheet metal, but it is magnetic, which is handy. I noticed the base of this thing is plastic. At some point, maybe I get rid of the base. I don't know. And replace the base with a good solid wooden base as well and rebuild the whole thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure my skill set's quite there yet, but let's get this thing working, and I use this to make its own base for itself. All right, so that's all we've got for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around, and let's look forward to making use of this over the next few weeks. Cheers, guys. Catch you soon. Before we go, let's cut something. Let's christen it. Got a bit of wood, got a table saw. Let's cut something. General rule, make sure the height of your saw is just above the height of your piece. So I don't know who made that rule up, but it seems to work. So let's make a cut. That is a nice cut on that, nice edge on that, nice cross cut on that. You're going to enjoy this. See you later.